I love the line, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Because I realize that my sorrow it means they mattered. It means what we had was real.
I just feel you.
The idea that someone's never gonna be there ever again is painful, and it's not something that we're always ready to accept or believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People who knew my mom, when they see me trying to do good, they've told me that they see her in me.
I'm just like gutted over here. You both are pouring your hearts out, and I haven't been able to talk this whole time. It's very frustrating because everyone's here to listen to me. Welcome to Cinema Therapy. I am Alan Seawright, professional filmmaker, and I need therapy.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist, and I love movies. And with us today is other licensed therapist who loves movies, Kati Morton. Kati, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So Kati has her own YouTube channel. You're something of a YouTube sensation with over 1 million subs, and frankly, one professional to another, I love your channel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, so in a way, I'm just OG YouTube. I feel like I've been on it forever. Never thought it would be a thing, but I love seeing other clinicians do cool things with their education. So really excited to be here.
And on your channel, you cover a host of topics. And one thing why I was really drawn to you is I think so often therapists are boring. And and you take these complex subjects that people love to write papers about and do presentations about and just bring them to the level of everyday people to understand and to apply in their lives. And I absolutely love that. And our fans have been clamoring, do WandaVision, do WandaVision. We've gotten so many comments about that. And then I saw this.
When it comes to maladaptive daydreaming, it isn't just feeling out of body or environment. We can create very intense and detailed daydreams with plots, characters, and very lifelike issues and storylines. Some people will get the plots for their daydreams from their real lives, while others can create a utopian place unlike their current experience.
So I saw that, I'm like, this syncs perfectly with WandaVision.
It's like right down the middle.
Yeah, so this is the episode to have Kati on. Now, we need to talk really fast because we get a lot of comments about do TV, please do TV.
So many comments. Everybody wants us to do Avatar. I love Avatar. Avatar's great.
Hello, Zuko here.
It's too long. The amount of time and effort it takes us to prepare for a movie, which is 2 hours long, is a lot. We are going to sort of change that rule a little bit for some limited series.
Well, which way
Why do you have to have your legs open? You know what? Fine. Here. You happy now?
WandaVision being a show that's only, put together, it's about, 4.5 hours? A little bit less than that. We can do that. It's also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's in the name of our channel, Cinema. That's our excuse. Take it or leave it.
You referenced in the clip what it is, but why does it happen? Why do people daydream maladaptively?
That sounds
Yeah,
grammatically
that's a great
correct.
question.
English, mother. Do you speak it?
I didn't know about it either until I started talking to people online about dissociation. So even if people don't know, when we get overwhelmed and our nervous system is like, I can't handle this is too much, I always say it pulls the ripcord. It's like, I'm out of here. And that protects us from having to be present and stay in that moment and potentially be more traumatized, feel more overwhelmed, have a panic attack, you name it.
Sure.
And so dissociation, I really believe that that's a spectrum. And the very beginning, the early stages of that spectrum is maladaptive daydreaming. We've all daydreamed before, right? You're like, I'm in Hawaii, I'm on the beach, this is beautiful. But it's more than that. It's more like my real life just feels like too much. So I'm going to go into this created universe where I can live the life that I want. Hence, like WandaVision, how beautiful it is and how much it feels like that, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Pull yourself into this other universe where things are better, more exciting. I'm happier. Things are easier. And people can spend whole hours, days in this alternative reality.
With PTSD, with post-traumatic stress disorder, not in every case, but sometimes people dissociate and they're actually brought back to the time of trauma. And maladaptive daydreaming seems to be that, but in the other direction, where you transport yourself someplace positive and someplace where you feel safe and where you feel happy. And what makes it maladaptive is you don't get your work done, It affects your relationships.
I gotta say, I as a creative person, I'm feeling pretty called out right now.
Okay, so getting into the story, we first meet Wanda and her brother Pietro. They have powers, they've been radicalized and experimented on.
He's fast and she's weird.
When we meet them, they already arrive with plenty of trauma.
Orphaned at 10 when a shell collapsed their apartment building.
Their parents were killed in front of them. They lived in war-torn Sokovia. They hid, under a table for a couple days with a Stark missile that they thought was going to go off.
Yep.
They've already been through some stuff, and then Ultron manipulates them to do a bunch of evil stuff.
You and I can hurt them, but you will tear them apart from the inside.
They realize we've been on the wrong side. And they have a paradigm shift about the Avengers, specifically about Tony Stark, which is a big deal for Wanda. So we also get introduced to Vision in this film. But what I love is we see right out of the gate, his integrity is without question.
And the way that is demonstrated, just a quick filmmaking note, if you can do something with a line instead of 5 lines of dialogue, do it that way. If you can do something by picking up a hammer
Yeah.
and tell me so much about the character, that is, Every time I watch it, I, A, freaking jump out of my chair and cheer, and B, my filmmaker brain jumps out of its chair and cheers, because it's so much with one shot.
Joss Whedon, we love your work. Joss Whedon, get therapy.
Get some therapy, man. You can do it.
And before destroying Ultron, he has this conversation that I think is so wonderful where he's talking about humanity. There's a moment where he says,
But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts.
I didn't realize it at the time. At the time I thought, well, that's just a great line.
But it's prefiguring his entire story.
Yeah.
Completely.
And then, as you all know, because you've seen the films, what ultimately develops over time is a friendship that blossoms into a romance. Which is interesting, because he's like a mechanoid, and...
He's a mechanoid created by the man who created the things that ruined her life.
Yeah.
And she knows it. From the very beginning, she knows it.
Yeah.
And it's sublime storytelling, frankly.
It's really beautiful.
Tell me what you feel.
I just feel you.
Wanda, for 2 years, we stormed these moments, trying to see if this could work. And I don't know, you know what? I'm just going to speak for myself. I think it works. It works.
Paul Bettany is so good. That's such a goofy line delivery, and he does so great with it. And the chemistry between these two is dynamite.
So a lot of today's conversation is going to be about the psychological aspects of this, but I actually want to have Alan, filmmaker, address casting and chemistry and how you create what we just saw.
Yeah. So, I mean, people have talked about it a lot before. The casting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Elizabeth Olsen is a fantastic actor.
I can't feel you.
Paul Bettany is a fantastic actor.
I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose.
You know, you put two fantastic actors together, you're probably going to get something.
Yeah.
And the thing that's incredible about this is they weren't cast together.
Yeah.
They were never, like, this was not an intended planned thing, as far as I know. You know, way back when they cast Paul Bettany as the voice of Jarvis in Iron Man 1.
Jarvis, you up?
For you, sir, always.
Right.
That was not the plan. They also didn't have to, you know, they could have made Vision a completely CG thing and not have Paul Bettany be the Vision. But, you know, they decided to keep him in that role. And the fact that they either got lucky or the actors are that good or the direction was that good or a combination of all three, where they get that kind of chemistry where you feel it just popping off the screen, the love and care for these people. The work that's done in those scenes to, you know, bring them close, obviously with the blocking, but the lighting and everything else. So much of the way their relationship plays out is actually very simple in the Avengers films and in Captain America Civil War. A lot of it is mediums and close-ups, and it's just them inhabiting space with each other.
Letting the actors do their thing.
And they're so good.
I mean, they were both cast in Age of Ultron, but they don't have a lot of time together or any time together in that film.
I don't think there's hardly any time.
But the entire Wanda and Vision love story, at least from the films, that's Russo brothers.
Yep.
Starting in Civil War.
Civil War and then Avengers.
And something that really strikes me is just how much love she has in her eyes for him as he's stumbling with his words.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of times where you have like the fumbling guy trying to say the right thing, and the woman is just kind of like, shh, it's okay, you know? But Elizabeth Olsen plays it like this is actually even more endearing that he can't.
More endearing.
Their characters are so beautiful, I think, because they're both so like softly strong. There's something magical about Vision's my favorite character.
Yeah.
By far, just because of how deeply kind he is and patient. Yeah. And I think Wanda needs that. It's like the perfect pairing. I don't know. It's beautiful.
And as I watch this scene, I'm reminded, because everyone loves Alan's hair and beard. Alan with a short haircut and no beard looks exactly like that.
I look like Paul Bettany would look like if Paul Bettany wasn't very handsome.
You're going to get so many comments about how handsome you are. Now, of course, like you're talking, Katie, their quiet strength is so beautiful. This chemistry is so beautiful. And as many great filmmakers do and actors do, they set up a beautiful love story so they can completely kick us in the crotch.
No. So painful.
It's not fair. It shouldn't be you, but it is. It's all right. You could never hurt me. I just feel you.
I don't want to talk too much over the scene, but Elizabeth Olsen's face is top shelf. Like her facial acting is...
Both of them. Like they're doing such a silly thing because, they're not standing there with her magic rippling across.
Right, they're just on set.
They're just on set with some blinky lights. And they're emoting beautifully. And, Elizabeth Olsen is determined and afraid, and Paul Bettany is just about to destroy me here.
Being in the theater and just people gasping right here.
Yeah.
I mean, she's determined and afraid, but she's also just devastated.
Absolutely gutted.
Infinity War kicked our collective ass.
It is weird to think back about that year where everybody was just sort of collectively traumatized by this.
Yeah, it was horrible. I kept thinking maybe there was something else was going to happen. Like, somebody come out, help us.
Yeah.
What's going on?
We did not get a happy ending, so this is the most European of the Avengers films.
It is the most European art house of the Avengers films.
God, that's so devastating. I hated watching that.
So
check it out.
Agnes later sums it up.
So to recap, parents dead, brother dead, Vision dead.
The sheer amount of loss that Wanda's gone through, and so much of that happened right before her eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. In order to form healthy, happy memories that we can store and that we can recall and that we can let go of, we have to be able to put them into a cohesive narrative and file it away. And we know that trauma memories, we're not able to do that. Again, like we talked earlier about like dissociation, maladaptive daydreaming, that ripcord, if we're not present, we can't put it into a story. And it's almost like, I love Inside Out, that Pixar film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And imagine those marbles instead of them being formed and filed away so neatly, they're dropped on the floor of that like control center, and there's splinters everywhere. And I feel like each time we see, you know, we personally, or even if we're talking specifically to Wanda, each time something like that happens, a marble's dropped and she's just trying to pick up the splinters or stepping on them, having flashbacks, right? It can feel very overwhelming to our system. Trauma can be really debilitating and really overwhelming to our nervous system, make it difficult for us to connect with other people. But because I'm a therapist, I just have to say this, with the right support and the right help, we can put those marbles back together, we can roll them away, and we can feel better and overcome it. But it's difficult and very uncomfortable at times.
And it's, you know, I think of the power of art, because we can experience things vicariously. We can go through a journey with the characters. They spent so much time building characters across the MCU that when something like this happens, I'm not going to say it's even close to losing someone you actually care about. But there were many people who experienced it as, I think, a minor trauma may not be overselling it. You know, that they just like, what just happened, because the characters have come to mean and represent so much to them. And so what's beautiful about what we're going to explore now is we get an entire grief arc to experience vicariously, watching the MCU and WandaVision, to experience through pop culture at least a reflection or a type of, this is what it's like to move through trauma, to move through grief to a place of peace. But Wanda's not there yet. So she gets dusted, like half of us got dusted. And then she gets snapped back. What?
That's a comment. Did you get dusted, or were you a Remainer?
Yeah, right? So she gets dusted.
I don't want to go, Mr. Decker. I don't want to go.
Then she gets snapped back into existence, and she deals with her grief.
You didn't see that coming.
The way a lot of people do, the way she did when Pietro died, and now she deals with it with just destructive rage and fury.
Yeah.
Right? And we really get to see her power when she goes off against Thanos.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
You will.
And if it weren't for other circumstances, like, he had to call in the big guns because she would have beaten Thanos, which is something.
Yeah. And I love that her power's red too. I mean, it always has been. It's not like this is a change, but the rage that she feels, it's so red's always been a color I personally like attached to anger or rage.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so powerful when she goes on this like tear to see that in her, right? But then we see her like come unhinged. It's, I don't know why, for me it was always like both parts terrifying and beautiful. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that sums up Wanda in general, terrifying and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean like looks. I mean like she's a beautiful character, and she's also terrifying. Now she's back, battles won. She goes to reclaim Vision's body. But I am so heartbroken because the whole "I just feel you" that's repeated twice in Infinity War, when she's with his body.
I can't feel you.
So she heads off to Westview. She goes to the lot that Vision had bought for them to grow old together in. It's like they're trying to hurt us by making...
It's very calculated. And again, Elizabeth Olsen's performance is so beautiful in what has got to be on set the silliest feeling thing.
Well, and the way she does the trying to not cry.
Yeah.
And it's escaping out is so realistic. Good. And then she finally gives into it.
It's such a cool, like, you know, magical representation of how a lot of us feel when you're, you know, grief-stricken, traumatized, overwhelmed.
Yeah. So here, I mean, this is the concept that you were talking about in your video and that we're going to address here. She's creating a new reality, right? One where she can be happy, one where things can be different. Yeah. And of course, we explore it here in fantasy. She's got the power of creation.
Yeah, but we have power of creation in our minds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is all created in her mind. She can just actually bring it into physical manifestation. We don't really have that luxury.
Yeah.
I want that cardigan and tie.
I kind of think you need to cosplay
we're going
Vision
to.
now.
We're going to do that. I love how the final stage
the
of that.
choice of going back into this time was so interesting.
Yeah.
Welcome home.
It's like she just wanted a simple life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how the last step of the act of creation is done in a cut. We've seen this magical transformation of everything else, and she changes from real Wanda into sitcom Wanda in an edit. And it's just done.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no morphing, she's just there.
Yeah.
And then real life Wanda is looking up at the actual lights that they dug out of storage to film these sets with. It's amazing.
Yeah. How do you see this comparing to reality?
I mean, I honestly think that it is very comparable. I've heard from a lot of my audience members and even my patients alike that when they create these daydreams, if we're talking about maladaptive daydream, when they create them, they're very lifelike. It's usually tethered to reality a little bit more closely, but not for everybody. Again, everybody's different, but I think it's, other than the time jump, I think it's very representative. And the fact that it's a sitcom. Most people, their daydreams are, it's like you are in it.
It's like real life.
This is happening. This is reality.
Yeah. I think with Wanda, she never knew safety literally in her entire life.
The one safe place that she has that she remembers well is watching sitcoms.
Yeah.
And as somebody who, didn't experience nearly that level of trauma, my safe, had this same thing happen to me,
yeah,
I would be living in movies,
Yeah.
I would be Indiana Jones and Han Solo.
Yeah, because what's your safe place, right? How do you go to it?
You're watching this channel right now, odds are, because pop culture is part of how you cope, it's part of how you learn, it's part of how you grow. And so not only is this on the nose for having Katie on the show, this is just on the nose for our brand. Like this is
the most on-brand episode we've ever done. Yeah. You're welcome.
Wanda deliberately tries to keep outside reminders at bay. This is not repression. This is not something that's happening involuntarily in her mind. She is willfully suppressing all of her trauma, her past life. She knows exactly that there's an outside world. She knows that she's created the barrier. She's willfully trying to ignore it, and then stuff keeps coming up to remind her.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a PTSD response. Even though, like, throughout the episodes, like, even Vision's like, what's happening? There's all sorts of stuff that's going on, and she's like, la, 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 because it's too overwhelming. It's too scary. It's too sad, and she's already lived such a traumatic life. She's like, can't I just have a minute? Like, I just need a minute. I'm not ready yet, which I think is why so many people attach to this, myself included, to this story.
Yeah. Well, and I've done a lot of trauma work, and what I see consistently is a desire to avoid because it's too much.
Yeah.
And in Wanda's case, she has tried to keep it at bay, but reality keeps encroaching.
Yeah.
Agnes says to her,
"The only way forward is back."
I thought that was an interesting line, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it.
Maybe the villain didn't have the protagonist's best interests at heart?
Oh, absolutely. But that doesn't mean she was wrong.
Doesn't mean she was wrong, certainly.
But I'm also not entirely convinced she was right.
There are things that Wanda's going to have to process that happened in the past.
Yeah.
The traumas are past traumas. And so in a way, in order for her to move forward, she does have to unpack that baggage from the past and make sense of it and feel it.
If you have endured a trauma and you're struggling to cope, not only is there no shame, it's a very good thing to get help from someone who is trained and experienced in helping you deal with trauma and helping people through the process of challenging and confronting the things that we could be afraid of, that we run from. When we hide from them, when we push them away, we actually give them more power.
Yeah.
Now, just facing them head on, unprepared or with no strategy isn't necessarily going to be a good thing, but
can be a recipe for disaster. But speaking from personal experience.
Can be re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
But facing them in a very healthy way is very beneficial. So I'm going to take a quick second. I've got a channel as well called Mended Light that focuses specifically on trauma, so check both of those out.
It's just like this wave washing over me again and again. It knocks me down, and when I try to stand up, it just comes for me again. And I can't. It's just gonna drown me.
No. No, it won't.
How do you know?
Well, because it can't all be sorrow, can it? I've always been alone, so I don't feel the lack. It's all I've ever known. I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief, if not love persevering?
Damn it. I love that scene so much, and it makes me so angry because I will never write anything that beautiful.
I love the line, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Because I realize that my sorrow it means they mattered. It means what we had was real.
Yeah.
And I don't know who said this, you could Google it, but that grief is our last gift that we give to the departed. Right? And in our Onward episode, I talked about the only way to take grief out of life is to take love out of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We are going to lose the people that we love. It's just part of the experience, and then we gain other people to care about and to connect to.
I lost my dad when I was in graduate school. For me, therapy was so necessary for all of my grief and very healing. Also, I don't like to express emotion all the time in my regular life because I have to hold it together for my patients, right? I can't be like, ooh, That's not helpful for them. For me, it was taking time to let myself feel it and know that it's okay to not be able to do everything. It was like permission to grieve and giving myself that permission. I set aside time to just cry every so often.
Alan does that. It's called cinema therapy shoot days. He says
I have to hydrate.
Yeah. No, he does after these episodes. He's like,
I'm not sure that it was super healthy. When I was younger, I dealt with grief through athletically sanctioned violence. Mm-hmm. I played lacrosse and rugby, and that was honestly one of the ways that I dealt with grief, was just putting that hurt into someone else.
Yeah.
I find ways to take some time and cry, Katie, and, experience emotional catharsis through other characters it's so funny because on this show, I cry a lot. I cry a lot watching movies. Like, I don't know that it's an unhealthy amount, but it's an irregular amount.
Yeah. Which is an important distinction.
I don't know if it's irregular. I think we're emotionally full a lot.
Yes. Yeah. That is a great way to put it, Katie. We are emotionally full.
Yeah. When we find purpose and we create purpose for our pain. And I think no matter who we are, whatever we have gone through, people ask why is this happening to me? There's one answer that is pretty much always true. Everything we go through, everything we suffer empowers us to help others.
Yep.
Helps us to be more compassionate for what other people are going through, inspires us to step out of our daily stream, our daily grind, and step into somebody else's life and make a difference.
I know you'll set everything right. Just not for us.
We have to live in our reality. Mm-hmm. We have to feel things. We have to face things.
It's time. Should we head home?
And in order for her to do that, she needs to basically dismantle her superpowered maladaptive daydream. She's got to dismantle this whole universe that she's created, which means losing her her children that she created magically.
Boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom.
And losing vision again.
Again. For the third time.
For the third
For
time.
the third time, I know.
We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.
So long, darling.
Crap. Oh, it's me too this time. The line, "We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason. We'll say hello again," means a lot to me personally. I think means a lot to a lot of people. I know other people kind of, I read some people kind of rolled their eyes at that because that doesn't.
It can seem very trite.
Yeah, right. And so I wanted to explore that, whether that is powerful and healing or whether that is just another form of maladaptive daydreaming that you'll be reunited with your loved ones when, they're actually just gone. Like
I think a lot of times in life we're searching for hope, right? And the finality of death is so overwhelming, which is why I think grief is something that's usually so complicated for people, even personally. It's hard to imagine that you won't see that person again. And so no wonder people would put faith in, I'll get to see them again in, whatever you believe, heaven or afterlife, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so if I kind of take the emotion out of it and logically look at it, I'm like, that makes complete sense. And, even as a person who I don't call myself religious in any stretch of the imagination, I do still believe that my dad is around me and he is still watching, and, same with my grandpa. And now I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Because the idea that someone's never going to be there ever again is painful. And it's not something that we're always ready to accept or believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the X-Files, right? I want to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've come to terms with, if I never see my mom again, if what I believe is not real, it's just a hope, it's a wish. She lived a hell of a life. And she did so much good for so many people. My entire reason for becoming a therapist was her. And she was not without sorrow and not without difficulty or sadness, but she was fulfilled and she was happy. And I've come to peace with, I might not see her again. That's not what I believe. That line lands for me personally. We've said goodbye before, and we'll say hello again. But even if I'm wrong, I'm glad to have known her.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I try to hold on to too, is instead of focusing on the hope that we'll see them again, instead I try to focus on the wonderful privilege I had to know them in the first place.
Yeah.
And to have that relationship and the memories. And that's kind of part of the grief for me, was just acknowledging those memories and those important things that I hold dear, and knowing it's okay to be sad that there won't be more, but you can also take the time to be grateful that you had them at all.
Yeah. It reminds me of the line from Sirius Black.
The ones that love us never really leave us. And you can always find them in here.
There's two ways to look at that. One, they'll always be there for realsies. Or two, they're actually gone. But I know people who knew my mom when they see me trying to do good, they've told me that they see her in me. And I think when we're talking about the departed, we honor them best by carrying on whatever was good that we got from them and recognizing I learned this from you and I'm going to keep this going. So, this has been a real cheerful, funny episode of Cinema Therapy.
Man, I want to contribute some filmmaking insights or some wacky jokes or something, and I'm just like gutted over here. You both are pouring your hearts out, and I literally am so emotional. I can't, like, I haven't been able to talk this whole time. It's very frustrating because everyone's here to listen to me. The filmmaking is beautiful and subtle, and honestly, most of the Wanda and Vision stuff that makes it land so hard is the world's greatest visual effect, special effect, 2 actors emoting the hell out of a scene. That's it. Watch these movies, watch WandaVision. Holy crap, it's good.
Yeah, it's very, very good. We want to thank you, Katie, for joining us today.
Of course.
And
thanks for having me.
To those of you who are watching at home, cannot recommend enough that you sub Katie's YouTube channel, which you can find right here. You have my personal glowing recommendation. It is fun and engaging and personable and not dry and boring like so many of our peers.
You can also find us on social media at therapy_cinema on Twitter and Instagram, or r/cinema_therapy on Reddit. Katie, where can people find you on the socials?
Everything is just Kati Morton, KATIMORTON, all across, Instagram, Twitter, wherever.
Well, Katie, we've said goodbye before.
So I guess it stands to reason that we'll say hello again.
Until then,
watch movies.
Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha all along. And I killed Sparky, too.